Hi everyone, welcome to Tech Talk, a show where Amit and I talk about various technology related topics. This week, we're going to talk about a topic which is titled BioTech. BioTech is a very interesting subject, but often overlooked, in my experience at least. Uh, we often underestimate how powerful biotech is. When technology is combined with anything biological, that's, well, from the name we can kind of figure out that's what biotech is. But when we think about biology, we think very well, I don't know what you guys think, but I don't think about the vast array of all the things that are available within biology. It's not just farming, it's medicine, and it's, starting from genetics to even farming is quite powerful because that that makes available all the food that we eat. So yeah, I think biotech is a very powerful topic, and it's important for us to be aware of all the different facets of biotech that are making our lives as easy as it is today. So that's why we thought it would be a good idea for our audience to sort of listen to biotech as a topic, and for us to share some of the information that we know. Thank you very much, Amit, for coming up with this topic. And as I understand, I mean, I've always had a narrow view on biotech, but I think you've done some research and some knowledge on this topic. So let's start with the topic. What's your thought on biotech?
Thanks, Rinat, for that introduction. Yeah, I think biotech is quite important, especially in today's world. We are rapidly progressing. We just had COVID. We are still recovering from it. We saw the power of mRNA vaccines that was rolled out effectively across the world. And those vaccines helped recover a lot of people and saving lives. So biotech has a very important role. And I thought that it's a very important topic because we talk about technology, but how does technology affect our lives, our biological lives, and how is it changing on a day-to-day basis? So that's why I picked up the topic. And when we talk about biotech, it's actually a lot of things. It's a very broad topic, and we'll try to cover different aspects of it. There is bioengineering, there is bioinformatics, there is genetic engineering, etc., etc. So biotech has all of that. So it's biology plus technology, and we'll look at some of the aspects of biotechnology. And it's not just technology related to biology related to human beings, but biology related to plants, biology related to animals. So the three things together, and then biology to prevent diseases, and then medicines. So there are a lot of all these things that encompass the biotech field.
Yes, very much so. And thank you for giving us some insight on how many different areas biotech is sort of spread across. And one of the things I always thought is whenever a discipline has a lot of conjunction or relation with other discipline, and you need interdisciplinary knowledge to do something with it, that usually is like a breeding ground for disruptive new technologies where it kind of changes everything. And I feel like biotech is one of those areas where there is a lot of where you need a lot of interdisciplinary knowledge. For example, even if you want to do something, even in farming, right? And you want to come up with a really modern way of farming, maybe in a domestic environment. You have like I've seen some of these things where it's like a column where you have like various vegetables are growing in a home environment, and it's all automated, and you just do like something every day. Or no, you don't even have to do it every day. You just put the things that are needed over a period of time, and it automated it supplies that, and you get fresh produce for your meals every day. And for these, to make something like that, you need mechanical engineering knowledge, you need farming knowledge, plant and that kind of knowledge. and you need automation, so IT and sort of programming knowledge, which would automate this whole thing. So yeah, whenever there is interdisciplinary knowledge, and there is a lot in biotech. For example, as you mentioned, COVID vaccine, it's not just about um, discovering what the vaccine, the main structure, the design would be. That's obviously the most important part. But for that, you also have to think about the logistics. Some of those vaccine needs a particular temperature to preserve, and then the mass production of those vaccines are another discipline altogether. So all of these things, all of these knowledges, when it comes together, then it becomes quite a powerful technology as an output. And in biotech, you need different interdisciplinary knowledge, I think even more, to make things happen. And that kind of takes us forward quite a bit, quite a few steps when we come up with something.
Yes, definitely. And you've given a good example when you said there are columns and you're farming and you can do it in your home. It's basically vertical farming. And how do you do that? There is something called as I think hydroponics, where you actually don't need soil to grow plants. You just use water and you add all the nutrients in the water and you give artificial light. So that's how they grow a lot of food in Netherlands, where they have a lot of water. They don't have a lot of land to cultivate. So they are a lot into hydroponics. They're also into greenhouses. So yeah, I mean, but when we talk about biotechnology, when we talk about say let's start with farming and crops or plants. So when we talk about biotech, where are we looking at to where is the biotech part in farming? So one is to make the crops more pest resistance. So you will modify the seeds, genetically modify the seeds so they are more pest resistance. The other thing is you want to increase the yield. So you want to increase the yield of say a rice or a paddy or a sugarcane crop, wheat, corn, etc. So you want to increase the yield of that particular crop. The third thing could be that I mean, you talked about pest and you talked about yield. The third thing could be that you just remove the seed. So there are now a lot of plants which are coming with seedless types. So you don't have to have, I mean, you need seeds to produce them, but those plants will not produce seeds. So suppose you go to a Tesco today's Tesco or Sainsbury, which is a UK grocery stores, you can buy oranges without the seeds. You can buy some grapes without seeds. So they are genetically modified. So they are creating a new type of crop using biotech by modifying the seed to give you a product that is more easily consumable. So that's the impact of, say, a part of biotech in farming of plants.
Absolutely, and I love this seedless fruits. I mean, that has changed the game for me altogether. I mean, I didn't used to like oranges before until I came across the seedless oranges, and now I am waiting for seedless watermelons. I mean, they are mostly seedless, but I think there's still a few left usually. But yeah, I am waiting for it to be fully seedless. For as a consumer, I would really prefer that.
Yes. So those are the areas in just plants. And if you look at animals, it's the same thing. So a lot of animals are used for animal produce, so like wool, like eggs, like meat, cloth, etc. And then food, and they're used for food as well. So you want animals to be more resistant to diseases. So you give them a lot of enzymes and immunotherapy drugs, etc. Then you want them to have a lot of meat. If you are killing them for meat, then you have to ensure that they produce a lot of meat. So then you try to modify the eggs of the animals, and then you genetically modify. So that's again part of biotech, where we are trying to have more meat and less of maybe brains or
And
whatever.
healthier meat as well. So there is less
Healthier,
fat and
exactly. Yeah,
more
yeah,
fiber
exactly.
content.
So and then if you have cows, then you are thinking about milk. So then you want cows to produce milk frequently, and the cows to give more milk. and the cow's milk should be more what do you say, free from diseases, etc. So you want all of that, plus you want maybe cows to eat less food and still give more output. So you are engineering a lot of things, and that's where some of the part of, say, in the animal side, you're getting the biotech part. So the technology is now telling. So see, when do cows produce milk? When they're trying to produce babies, and how do you simulate that behavior all year round? So you have to use some kind of technology to make sure that the cows are producing milk every day or every month without stopping. So there are a lot of technology going behind that, and then it's also the technology to make sure that the meat that you get is high quality and disease resistant. So it should not catch any diseases through the process of the meat farming or meat production. So you want to make sure all of that. So these are very tricky. And when we talk about these genetically modified or other things, we are also looking at medicines. So medicines is basically influenced by these. So you have a feedback. So I try a medicine in my lab, and then I try it on an animal, and then I see the behavior, and then based on the feedback from that animal, I modify the medicine again, which I again give to the animal. So there is a feedback loop, and that loop keeps going till you actually deliver a good quality medicine that gives you a lot of output. The animals are healthy, and they are no longer sick, and they produce good quality meat and milk or eggs, etc. So there is a pharmaceutical industry involved as well, which is part again of the biotech, where you say pharma tech, pharmaceuticals. So vaccines is part of the pharmaceutical industry, and there are other medicines
There are
that
quite
are
a
there.
few fields about the, like there's med tech as well, which we
Medtech,
can talk
yeah,
about another times, to do with medicines, and then pharma tech. So yeah, the doctors who only deal with one kind of animal, humans, are in med tech, whereas in biotech, you deal with all
have
different
everything.
kinds of animals.
Exactly. Yeah. So
uh,
I mean, medicine is a subset of so medtech is a subset of biotech, because there is biology involved, and then you
yes.
add technology. And when we think about technology, we are not just thinking about computers. Technology is something that makes our life easier, that takes the human civilization a bit forward using it. So that's technology. Wheels are a technology. Fire is a technology. It's not to technology should not be confused with that. Okay, computers are technology, smartphones are technology, but wheel is not, car is not, etc.
So the key is in the name IT. So anything to do with computer is information technology. So the technology which
Yes,
is particular to giving and taking of information, that you
yes,
can say
yes.
that IT. But there is a lot of other technology, which is some of the things we are talking about today.
And then in biotech, I mean, the pinnacle of biotech is revolving around humans. How do you make humans more healthy? So there are a lot of things in biotech. One of the things that is coming out is smart wearables. So these wearables that track your heart rate, they track the number of steps, they track your blood oxygen levels, etc. So it is, I mean, you cannot say that it is not biotech, because somehow or the other it is taking certain biological markers, measuring it, and then giving it as an output on your smartphone or a smartwatch, or maybe a smart weighing scale, a smart blood pressure monitor, etc. So these are all smart devices where the information is being collected, and then it's put it in a database, and then you can see the progress over a period of time, and then you can see whether you're improving your health or whether your health is reducing. So this is one way in which you are having measurement of your biomarkers. Then there is another way where you have these machines that are small technology or technological pieces or artifacts that are implanted in your body to measure certain again things. So say glucose, so glucose monitor. So you have implants in your, say, arm, and then it monitors your blood glucose level, and then it shows it in the app. So you don't have to measure it again and again. I mean, of course you do have to measure it, but instead of putting a needle, to take out the blood and then measuring the glucose, you can just put the phone near you, and then it can send the signal, and it can tell your smartphone that, okay, this is the measure, it's going up, so you need to take some insulin. So that is another way. And there are many other implants where people are putting it in their bodies so that they do, so like an NFC product. So I have the NFC product in my hands, so every time I don't have to carry my smartphone, I can just tap my hand, and voila, the payment is done. So I mean there are various levels, and these are some of the levels that I just wanted to highlight for now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are so many ways biotech is making our lives better, and some of them are so sort of disrupting that we are even scared, to adopt as a mass adoption. Like, for example, what you said, a computer chip inside your body, and a lot of people are, and including myself, are worried about the privacy and what it can do, etc. And we are particularly scared when anything is to do with directly to our body and health, but it is possible. And I think in Norway or Netherlands there are there have been like quite a few pilot programs that has done it already, and their lives are so much better. Obviously, I think however much you don't agree with the terms and conditions and uncheck the optional boxes whenever you're registering for something, they are going to collect some data one way or another. But yeah, I mean, the way it also has the potential to make your life so much better is also something to think about, whether you want to do that give and take, because it is amazing technology. I mean, I'm scared myself, so I'm not going to urge you guys to go for it. But if the opportunity presents itself, I would probably be cautious and do my research, and probably, as long as I know whether it's reversible, I probably would want to try it myself. So yeah, there are many benefits, and if you think a little bit innovatively, then you could think of many ways you could utilize these kind of technology. When the technology is intertwined with biology, there can be so many things, and you can easily go on science fiction level things. Like, for example, if you had a computer built, like attached to your brain, and or the internet, all of internet.
Neuralink is
Yes,
just
yeah,
that.
I was
So
just
Elon
going to
Musk is
mention
working
that,
on Neuralink.
doing exactly that. Yeah, I was going to mention exactly that. That how, imagine how powerful it can be. I mean, you would single-handedly get rid of any need for any exams ever, because you don't need exams. You just need need to train your brain to be creative, rather than trying to memorize various processes that we currently do. What do we learn in schools and universities? Either method of doing something or information. If you have all of these in your brain straight away, all you need to be confident about is that what you can do with that information, or what you can do with that method. And then you can have productive output in the society, because the information is there already available in your brain instantly. As long as you can utilize those information and those methods and steps to make something, or to put some sort of output, then that's all you need, really. So that's just one aspect of things, but there could be so many other things that could enhance on a science fiction level, just by
Yeah. There is.
dabbling in
If
biotech.
you look at Neuralink, Elon Musk, recently he gave a TED talk, and he mentioned that Neuralink is basically in the first gen, it's going to help people who are paralyzed. So it's going to be a game changer for people who are paralyzed, and it'll help them maybe feel something, maybe move their body parts, etc. So that's going to be the first step. The second step may be something else, and I think the final step would be communication. So you just think and then you're communicating. So you don't even have to talk. So you're just communicating with people telepathically.
Yeah, and that's obviously still in a proof of concept stage, but then there is
Yes.
another science fiction level technology which has been here for a few years now, the CRISPR technology, where you can
Yes.
actually modify genes
Gene editing. Yes.
to make go make unwanted things go away. Well, I mean, obviously it's not, as far as I know, I haven't researched it recently, but as far as I know, you can't do it on a baby just yet, but you could kind of, theoretically, you could decide whether they would be talented geniuses, what would be their eye color, what would be their height, as well as, any negative traits like allergies and stuff you want to get rid of. You can potentially do all of these things in lab right now, but potentially in future,
Yes.
and that poses a lot of ethical questions as well. I'm sure the audience are thinking about it right now, that whether you would want to do it or you would want to have your natural baby the way God intends.
So science fiction is a very great view to tell people about the implications of a certain technology. So there's a very good film, Gattaca, Gattaca, Gattaca. It stars Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman and Jude Law, and it's a Hollywood film, and it's based on the same thing, gene editing. So basically, you create babies, and you decide that you want a baby that's exceptionally healthy and exceptionally intelligent and exceptionally good looking. So healthy, good looking, and intelligent. What more do you want? And they have the highest chances of, I mean, living as long as possible, etc. So now you have a baby who's this, and then you have a baby who are naturally born. There is no editing, and they have birth defects, and they have learning disabilities. They're not that good looking. And now, if you live in a world where you have these superior genetically modified human beings and you have inferior natural human beings, how would a society look like? Because if everyone is intelligent, if everyone is good looking, what would a society look like? So that's the question that the film is trying to answer, and it's trying to understand the motivations behind these technologies. Very interesting
That's
film, and very thought-provoking.
absolutely, yeah. I would definitely want to check it out. I didn't know about this, but yeah, I mean, the thing is, whenever a technology, in my view, and this is a shortcut, but I think whenever a technology kind of questions the privacy, security, or the ethical questions, that is a technology that is gonna disrupt the world in one way or another. For example, Uber, when it came, it questioned the, in a lot of ways, it questioned privacy and security. Not necessarily, I don't think there was an ethical question in there. Well, there was ethical question because it was getting the usual taxi drivers out of business. But I'm just saying, it's just my
And bear in
hack.
mind, they are gig workers. They were not. I mean, recently the law has been passed that they're employees, but
Mhm,
when Uber was launched, it was gig workers. So it was not ethical because people
mhm.
are using the app to book, to get customers on their cabs, but they are not treated as employees. And Uber is taking a cut for every ride, which is not cool.
Yeah, not cool. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, this is my hack. Whenever I'm looking at like startups and trying to understand whether this startup is gonna disrupt the market in future or change something, I see that whether they have the potential to make an ethical question, whether it can be questioned, the implications of what they're doing. Is there an ethical question or privacy or security? These three things, if there is that, I think they're going to disrupt the market, and there is a place where you potentially want to invest or not. But yeah, and in biotech, I feel like there's so many places where you can question that, and and I feel like it's one of the less explored areas of technology, and
Oh,
that.
definitely. I mean, not less explored because there are a lot of different areas now people are exploring. And so we just talked about, say, Neuralink. So Neuralink is something that's implanted in your head just under I think they take a part of your skeleton out and they just implant the chip. Of course, there are tests going on, but that's the proof of concepts and the prototypes are now being made and researched on. Then we talked about genetically modified. So we talked about genetically modified plants, animals. What about human beings? So that's gene editing. It's not happening at the level of babies, but you can now edit certain parts of your certain genetic defects that you have. So suppose you are susceptible to cancer or susceptible to some diseases that are hereditary. So maybe you can try to get rid of it. Of course, it's a very early stages, but it's being experimented on. So that's gene editing. CRISPR is the technology. We'll mention some links about that. Then we talked about medicines or pharmaceuticals. I think that plays a huge role because in the end, we are alive because thanks to the technology of medicines. Because medicines have clearly, increased our lifespans, reduced the number of diseases, and made us more healthy and stronger and intelligent, etc. And it's taking care of many other things. So medicines are very good. And of course, there is a lot of technology behind researching these medicines, behind researching the molecules, the chemical formulas, etc., to make a new medicine. So there is in pharmacy, in pharmaceutical industry, the biotech part is a huge thing, but there is a chemistry involved because of the chemical formulas that are there in the medicines. So that's the pharmaceutical side. Then you have the what do you say, we talked about biomarkers, but there are diagnostic tools, where, and then there is in the operation theater, there are many other tools. We are using 3D printers to manufacture certain parts of our body to be replaced inside, rather than putting metals. So suppose you can use a chemical or an enzyme or whatever that is biologically suited to your blood type and your DNA, then you can print it and then you can put it in your body so that it doesn't attack. Because imagine you put a metal rod or something that's not biodegradable, over a period of time it can cause some other issues. So imagine if suppose they can just look at your DNA and the blood type and they can install something in your body that that works for you, then it's great. And that's the problem with implants. So we know that implants are very good because a lot of people, they have organ failures. They are born with genetic defects where their hearts are not working, their lungs are not working, liver is not working, etc. Kidneys fail, etc. So in those cases they need a transplant. But the problem with a transplant is it belongs to someone else. And when something else which is foreign to your body is implanted in yourself, then what happens is your body starts attacking it. So then you need to take immunosuppressant drugs to ensure that your body, when it attacks, it doesn't, kill the organ that's implanted. What if we could create an organ from your blood type, from your DNA, and then implant it? Then your body will not reject it because it's your DNA, it's your blood type. And that's what scientists are working on. And there is this thing called stem cells. So stem cells are basically cells that can be made into any cell. They can be a heart cell, they can be a kidney cell, they can become a liver cell, they can become a lung cell, they can become a brain cell. So stem cells are cells that can become anything. And they are only found in babies. As adults, we don't have stem cells. So when babies are born, they are born with one type of cells, stem cells, and those cells become different organs. And as they grow, those organs develop. And over a period of time, we get rid of all the stem cells. So we want to understand from a biological point of view why those stem cells are there in the first place and why we don't have it in the future, so that maybe in the future you can grow your own limb. So suppose you lose a limb like your arm or your leg in some accident, uh, and um, they have to amputate. Now, why can't we regrow? So there are animals in the wild that can actually regrow their tails, they can regrow their limbs. So why can't we do that? What's stopping our bodies to do that? So there is a kind of research that's already ongoing to help people, especially war victims and war veterans that have gone through a lot of trauma, that have had a lot of injuries. So if we can help them recover, say with their with stem cells, then it's a breakthrough technology. So you might hear about stem cells quite a lot. And yeah, it's a very interesting piece of technology that's going to revolutionize once we crack it, and we will crack it.
Right. Yeah. No, this is actually really interesting to know. I actually didn't know all of these things about stem cells, and that's actually quite cool.
That's why they're called stem cells. And it has ethical aspects as well. So if you want to do research, then you need stem cells from embryos, not even babies, embryos. So of course there is an ethical bit involved. How many pregnant ladies would want their cells from their embryos to be researched and taken? So those aspects are there. So that's why there is the progress has been very slow, but if we are able to make progress, then it's going to be a game changer.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And that's that is actually quite a science fiction kind of
Yes, because
situation,
imagine, I
like
mean, when
Deadpool.
babies are conceived, they don't have any type of cells, right? They don't have
Yeah,
heart, they don't have lungs, and something in their body is being made into that, and those are nothing but stem cells. So
and
it's a
that's
very
like, and if you make it as while you're adult, this is like an organ that's made tailor-made for you, which is
exactly,
fully
it's
compatible.
personalized. What do you say? Healthcare. That's
Hmm.
also another thing that's happening in the healthcare industry, or I mean, I would not say biotech, it's healthcare more, where the care that's given to you is very personalized. Because imagine when you go to a pharmacy, they give you a medicine and they prescribe a dose, but those doses are different for different people. It's different for men, it's different for women, it's different for children, and then it's different for ethnicity. So a black person, a white person, an Asian person, etc., they have different genetic traits. So the medicines have to be tested. So clinical trials are now trying to have more diverse groups, because it's found that the dosage that they prescribe earlier was not working for all the different types of individuals. You needed different dosage for different types of people. So the more diverse group you have during the clinical trials, the more better medicines you can make for a broader population than a very specific population.
Right. Okay. These are all new information to me, and it's really good to know. I mean, it's good to have this knowledge, and hopefully, the audience is also as intrigued as I am getting to know all of these things. Yeah. I mean, I had kind of limited knowledge on this. Thank you, Amit, for enlightening me and the audience for
Yeah.
things.
And
Yeah.
then you also have biomechanics. So you have seen these Olympics like Paralympics and other things where the people are handicapped and they have a leg, or they have an arm, or they have something attached to their bodies. It is to enhance their mechanics or their movements. So if they have lost a leg, what if we can attach a mechanical leg which will help them to walk, stand erect, and not be in a wheelchair all the time? And what if you had different legs for running, walking, waterproof, etc., etc.? So those are the different things. And plus, if you are paralyzed, so now there are suits, biomechanical suits, where if you're paralyzed, you might have seen it in movies. I mean, Terminator is not the right example, but I would say a mecha bot. There was a movie that was made, mechanized robot. So you basically sit inside the robot. I think something like Avatar. So you sit inside the robot, and you have a lot of weapons, and you can walk, run fast, etc. And now imagine you scale it down, but it just suits your body, so it wraps around you, and then you can stand up. So you give a signal from your brain, and the suit, it stands up, it supports your weight, and then you try to give a signal to start walking. So that's another thing that's happening. And this is just mechanics part. There are people who are looking at how to bring back eyesight. So our eyes are basically nothing but lenses, and they are sending a signal to the brain to say that, okay, this is what you're seeing, and this is the image at this moment in time. This is how you should interact with the environment. This is how far the object is. This is how the far the object is. This is how much velocity the object is approaching, and this is the depth. So cameras don't have depth. So we need to understand how to recreate depth when we install a camera, and then identify the different elements. So we talked about, I think we talked about the smart vehicles, electric vehicles, and in that we talked about cameras, machine vision. But in this case, it has to be something that the humans can interact with. So if they have depth, they know how far or distant the object
But
is.
wouldn't two different cameras, artificially create
Yes,
depth,
yes, it can
right?
create depth.
And because
So
that's why we have depth, right? Because we have two eyes.
we have two different. So if you just close your eyes like this, I mean, if you put
You
your
don't have
hands to
you
your
don't have depth
one eye,
then,
then
because
you
if
don't
you,
have depth. You just
yeah.
have one vision, and then the brain merges the two images to give you one single image
Yeah,
because you have
absolutely.
two
'Cause,
different
yeah,
images.
it's a very there is a interesting. Well, I don't know if it's interesting, but fun experiment. If you want to put a thread into a needle with just one eye, you just would not be able to, and you'll see that you're quite far away with two of your fingers because there is no reference point. When you're trying to put one thread into the little hole in the needle, you
Yes.
need two eyes to see the depth of both of these objects to make
Yeah.
sure that they are aligned.
Otherwise,
So
it's
yeah.
very difficult.
Mm.
And I mean, and then there are people who can't speak. So like Stephen Hawking, he was paralyzed. He could not speak. So he had machines. He could just point his eyes at some text, and based on that, he could generate text, and that text was converted into audio. So that's how he was able to talk to a lot of people using just his eyes. So that's again technology from a biotech point of view. So, I mean, there are so many other things where we are now making nanobots to go inside our body to repair cells. So, if something is damaged, we want to go inside, uh, repair it, and then maybe stay there or come out. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's so many interesting things. When yeah, I think recently I've seen another article or a video where there are like nanobots which actually attaches to human sperm and then pushes it to go to the ovary and make a pregnancy
maybe.
happen. So assisted pregnancy to a whole new level. And
I mean, if you talk about IVF, that's kind of like pregnancy at a whole new level.
yeah, yeah,
and
absolutely.
tomorrow you might not need even men. You just need sperm,
Or stem cells.
stem cells,
Yeah.
create a baby.
I think I have heard that, well, it would be apparently a really bad idea to create two types of stem cell, from your own stem cells. If you
Create a
create the
clone, basically create a clone or something.
well, it wouldn't be clone. If you create a sperm and the egg from your own stem cells, it's not going to be a clone of yourself,
Yeah, yeah, of course.
but it
Yeah,
would be
it's
something dangerous,
we don't
apparently.
know, but yeah. So I think cloning is another area where the
Yes.
biotech is involved. So yeah, there is a lot of other things you want to. There are, I mean, we talked about implants, right? But there are, and we talked about biological implants like the organ implants, and then we talked about non-biological implants like a rod in your body, etc. Maybe a stent in your heart, etc. So those are also bioengineered, and there's a lot of research going on how to make it more, I mean, more elastic maybe, and more acceptable by the human body without creating a lot of issues. So I think that's very important. So there's a lot of research going on, and I know a couple of people in working in that industry.
So there's one kind of concept that I want to touch upon, is that all the technology that we talk about in all the episodes, we do come across good ways of using those and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
potentially bad ways. These are all vehicles, and whether whoever is driving that is kind of deciding whether it's going to be used in a positive way that's beneficial to humankind, ethically right, or negative way where someone's trying to just gain their own personal agenda. Now, while all technologies have this aspect, any technology, and this is what a lot of the time scares me, that if you are brainy, or if you study a lot in one particular topic, you would be an expert on that topic very quickly. And then if you're not an ethical person, you could become a very dangerous
Yeah,
person
to the world.
very
Yes.
easily. And it's not even too difficult nowadays. All the information are available, and you just
Yes.
need to study. If any one person is kind of devoted in one subject, they could become very dangerous very quickly. And what one of the reason I bring this up in this episode especially is because it's particularly dangerous in anything to do with biotech, because it's directly related to us humans and how we survive in our body. I mean, our consciousness needs our body to kind of stay alive, and anything
So
you can do.
I mean, you touched upon a very important point, saying yes, ethically, yes, and it has a lot of implications, and we have to be very careful because it involves our bodies. But the way technology is progressing, and then we've talked about, I think, artificial intelligence in one of our previous talks, and Elon Musk said um, very insightful words, and he said that AI is going to surpass human intelligence one way or the other. It's just
That's
a question of when,
it's
right?
not. I mean, I wouldn't say that's too insightful. I would predict that
No,
anyway.
but no, that's not the insightful bit. That's
Okay.
that's
Right.
the
Right.
first part. The
Right.
second
Okay.
part is that if we want to be part of that civilization where AI has already surpassed human intelligence, we have to figure out a way to merge with that intelligence, and Neuralink comes there.
Ah. Right. Okay.
So how do you merge with artificial intelligence? How do you merge human intelligence with artificial intelligence? So you, as you mentioned, if you have everything in a chip in our brain, then we don't have to learn. We just have to apply, and we have
Mm.
to think creatively, right? So all the foundation is there. Now imagine the power of artificial intelligence at your fingertips in your brain, and you are actually talking to that intelligence. So he's saying that okay, that part we are not going to beat, and it's going to surpass, but what we can do is we can merge with that technology, or we can figure out a way to live with that technology, either through implants, either through whatever means. But how do you, or you there is a concept called cyborgs, part man part machine. The moment you have a implant, you are basically part machine, so
Mm-hmm.
you're effectively a cyborg. But what if you can actually interact with that artificial intelligence? I think that's a game changer, and that's where the Neuralink direction is. But for now, it will be just focused on people who are paralyzed. But that's the aim. The aim is to merge human intelligence with artificial intelligence, merge all this and make it one single consciousness than having two different consciousness. Right now, we have actually several consciousness, and we have another consciousness, which is the internet. So you have the internet, and then you have human beings, and human beings have their own consciousness, and they are not merged together. What if after we have a chip, the consciousness merges, and then we also have the artificial intelligence, and that consciousness also we can interact with? That's the, like the
That's the
that's the
ultimate.
god level of godlike powers. But I think that's where the future is headed. I mean, we have seen it in lot of science fiction films. We have seen it in Matrix, that we are trying to interact with the machines. The machines are
Mhm.
far more intelligent and superior. Human beings can interact, they can plug it in, they can become codes, etc. So how do you interact in a world, and how do you live amicably? And those questions have been answered some way or the other through a lot of science fiction films, and
In a
it's up
very
to us.
speculative way. Yeah.
Speculative way, exactly. So we are not sure how the world will turn out to be, but the way the technology is heading, I think we are all headed in that direction. So it's just up to us how we um, I mean, make it ethical, how we regulate it, how we make sure that people are not harmed. I mean, there is something called as biohacking. Not sure if you have heard of that word, but basically, how do you enhance your fitness, or how do you enhance yourself? So how do you hack your body to make it more efficient, to make it more productive, to make it less tired, etc. So there is this whole thing called biohacking, where you take certain number of medicines every day so that you get all the nutrients in your body, and then you program yourself, you program your mind to just live with a few hours of sleep, etc. So it's a very interesting, and we'll share certain links. But those are all the things that are currently doing. It's not just technology that we use on a regular basis, but our own bodies are now getting hacked. And
That's quite interesting. How do I how do I get this? I think.
I'll share some things. So yeah, there are a lot of people who are looking at it, and I mean, and when we talk about hacking, imagine when you have an implant in your body and it's talking over Wi-Fi or some kind of some using some electromagnetic waves.
Mhm.
It's talking to some other piece of technology. What if you could intercept, and what if you could block? What if you could stop?
Mm,
Say you have a smart pacemaker in your heart. Someone sends a virus, stops the pacemaker,
mm.
right? So anything that's connected to the internet is essentially smart because now it has intelligence. You can interact with it. It can give you information. You can receive information, but that means you can send some information to it to stop working, and it can block something. So that's why, I mean, you have to be very careful when it comes to technology. So Rinat raised a very good ethical point saying, yes, technology is good, but we have to be very, very careful of what we are doing in our bodies or installing or implanting in our bodies.
And with technology, because biotech is a combination of tech and bio, a powerful aspect of technology is it's usually very easily scalable. So if you come up with a technology that is, that affects something or someone, you can probably potentially very easily make it so scalable so it affects the whole world. So
Yes.
that's why it's particularly dangerous, I feel, in biotech to sort of
And I mean, we just talked about the technology and the hacking part. Imagine what you have bioweapons. That's also biotech, right? And
yes,
some people
yes,
have this
like
conspiracy
anthrax.
theory that COVID is a bio weapon
Yes, yeah,
because it has the symptom. It gives you flu-like symptoms. It
mhm.
gives you pneumonia. It gives you fever. It gives you loss of smell, loss of taste. So it has symptoms of various different diseases combined into one single thing.
Yes, and imagine how powerful it could be. Like, there are, like presidents of various countries, they sometimes receive like cute, adorable letters from school children to asking for advice and stuff. In shape of that, if you send a fatal virus inside an envelope and the president opens it in whichever country,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
will
yeah.
have enemies. And
Anthrax and many other things. Yeah, there was a
yeah.
scare that anthrax and smallpox that we have eliminated, it can resurface because we are preserving it for future knowledge, just to make sure that, okay,
Mm,
in case something happens, we have the biology of that
mm,
particular disease. But yeah, there are diseases or weapons being engineered that can just pass through air. You breathe and you die, and you
mm.
touch, you die. And there are weapons being developed by countries, and it can be very dangerous. So that's unethical use of technology. People say it can act as a deterrent, like you develop nuclear weapons so that others don't attack you. So similarly, you develop bioweapons so that if in case others attack you, you can hit back. But because you have developed something, it can be dangerous if it's leaked.
Absolutely. And the reason why it may be even more difficult or more dangerous is because we are bio people.
Biological organisms,
Yes, we are
multicellular.
bioorganisms, and we need other organic items to eat to survive.
Yes.
And so if like when, like if for nuclear things, you get like underground shelters and stuff, so avoid the heat and the explosion, etc. But if it's through if it's a if a bioweapon is spread across the country with malicious intention, you can't just stop eating, and it could just easily spread through food or water or or air. We need
Exactly.
oxygen as well. So that's why it's like extra dangerous, and we ought to be cautious and
And it can be
conscious.
also targeted based on your DNA, like it just attacks certain kinds of individuals who have certain types of blood types. So it can be
Yes.
very specific, very personalized form of attack, just to target one single individual
Very
or one single
scary.
group of a community or ethnicity. And
Mm.
I mean, we have seen it in movies, but I'm sure the movies also get ideas from somewhere, and I'm pretty sure that weapons might be being developed as we speak. But yeah, I mean, that's the other side of a technology. So it's
Yeah,
bioengineering something. So instead
right.
of creating a weapon that you have to deploy using a lot of chemicals and fuels and explosives, what if you could just deploy it using water, drinking water?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, the bleak side of technology aside, let's come back to the positive, sunshiny side of technology. I mean, biotech has made our lives a lot easier, and it will continue to make our lives a lot,
You
enhance our
actually
lives.
mentioned about food, like we
Mm.
need food. So there is now bioengineered food. So
Yes.
the vegan meat that you get, I mean, it tastes like meat, but it has got no animal content in it.
And
I've
that
been
is a
vegan.
it doesn't have a lot of carbon footprint either.
Exactly. So there is a lot of food that we are now consuming that's bioengineered. I mean, it's not just plants and fruits. It's like they call it fake meat.
Mm.
And there is now something which is called lab grown meat. So instead of taking meat from an animal, you take the cell and then you grow the meat without actually growing the animal. So what if that happens? Would you then there is that ethical question? Okay, you're not consuming any animal, but no animal was killed. So do you want to then consume meat? So
Yes.
yeah, so there is this concept of lab-grown meat, which is now becoming very real, and there are a lot of companies who are experimenting with
My
this.
question is, would it stop growing once it's cooked, or would it keep growing inside my stomach?
I think when you talk about growth, it means you have control, right? So I'm pretty sure if they are growing it, they would have control of growing meat, and they're not growing an organism. Bear in mind, they're just growing the meat. So suppose there is a meat that's very particular, and just a disclaimer for people who are offended by this because they are plant eaters. We are just discussing this topic because it's related to biology, and there are a lot of meat eaters out in the world, and it has a huge impact to our environment. So if something like this is actually if it's made and released to the market, it actually saves a lot of animals. It helps free up the land that's used to feed the animals, and then it reduces the carbon footprint. So that's why we're discussing it. So yeah, so I mean you can create a specific part of the animal body or animal meat and then just grow that, and that's what people are looking at.
Hmm.
Companies are experimenting with it, and the way our population is growing, I mean, some people argue that, okay, I think Rinat, you and me had this discussion last week as well, where we were talking outside the podcast that we may or may not have enough food, but it's actually the politics that and the globalization
Not the
that's
logistics, yeah.
causing hunger. So I mean, and if you take that, then it means either we need, if there is a lot of hunger, then we need a lot of food, and if there is no hunger and we have enough food, then we need a way to figure out how to transport the food, or maybe grow our own food at our own localized environment. So it could be like we live in a very dry terrain. It could be extremely cold or extremely hot, but it's dry. And because it's dry, it means you cannot grow certain things. Now, what if you could grow your own food inside your house? So that's where hydroponics and many other things come into picture, where you can actually grow your food. And it's not just plants. Now you can grow your own lab grown meat. So what if you could grow your own meat? So then in a very dry place where you have access to less water, less nutrients, what if you could now have a sustainable life? And what if you could take all this and then go to Mars and
Yes.
then replicate all that and then provide enough food for yourself?
I think part of lab-grown meat is also the environment around it that we kind of take for granted a lot of the times. I mean, there's an interesting not thought experience, a reality, just a thought that I've come across a few days ago, that um, when a tree grows into just from the starting point to a massive tree, it doesn't, that mass is not taken from the soil, because then there would be a big hole in the soil.
It's carbon.
All of it is from the air.
Carbon dioxide.
Nitrogen and carbon.
Yeah, carbon. Yes.
But a lot of it is nitrogen as well, as far as I mean, I might be remembering, not
No, you're
vividly.
right. I mean, plants act as a carbon capture device or a
Probably the
nitrogen capture.
lab-grown meats are also relying on air a lot of the time. So Mars lab-grown meat, I don't know for sure, but it certainly is a modifiable technology which can be probably adapted to that in the future. Yeah.
No, I think, yeah, you raised a good point that yes, you need air because on Earth, most of the carbon is in solid form. And on Venus, most of the carbon is in gaseous form. That's why Venus is one of the hottest planets in the solar system. It has a greenhouse effect because there is so much of carbon in the air. It acts as a very big greenhouse and it just keeps getting more hot because there is no way of the heat escaping. But on Earth, what happened is the plants, the animals, we are essentially carbon beings,
Carbon-based beings. Yeah.
carbon-based organisms. We trap a lot of carbon. So when we die, the carbon goes back to the soil. But if we try to burn a lot of these fossil fuels in a huge amount, then we add the carbon back into a gaseous state, and that traps a heat, and that causes greenhouse effect, and that's what's happening. So, I mean, we started with biotech, but we ended up with global warming.
Well, it's related in one way or another. But no, this has been a really good conversation. Really, I've learned a lot. Thanks, Amit, for all of these insights and information. Hopefully, the audience also had a good good talk and learned, and generally been aware of what could happen. And as with any technology, it's always good to know what has been done, what's happening right now, and what could happen in future. So I think these knowledges actually affects our lives in directly, and sometimes in many ways indirectly as well. But that's why I always encourage people to gather more knowledge through potentially the starting point could be our podcast, and then you go away and do more research on it, and let us know what you found. Even we would be quite happy to get the feedback and anything that you've done with from getting the knowledge from here, etc. So yeah, hopefully you guys have enjoyed it, and you guys hopefully will keep coming back to our episodes. We are looking at getting more guest appearances in our soon near future episodes, so stay tuned. And thank you everyone.
Yeah, thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for listening to us. We are always excited to host these talks and talk about technology because that's our passion, and we hope you enjoy these as well. So yeah, keep listening, keep subscribing, and share your feedback. Thanks a lot. Enjoy.